action.
Rolling.
Rolling.
There's nothing actually rolling.
There's nothing rolling. Yeah. Except your fucking eyes.
Yeah, right. Right. Click, click, click.
What's good, you creeps?
As you can tell, unscripted. Unscripted podcast. Fucking 85% of your stuff is about murder.
About murder. That's fair. Because our listeners love fucking murder. Hit them up with the Gmail.
You can send us an email with your suggestions, comments, or concerns at basedontrueeventspodcast@gmail.com.
Boom. What's up?
Hey. 45 minutes later.
That's what I get for trying to get a head start. I forgot about auto update.
Dude, have you not learned? Like, we did all that work to get ahead on episodes and fucking did nothing.
Oh, shit. What's good, man?
What's up, dude?
Nothing, dude. I'm whooped. I was bitching about it a little bit earlier, but literally I thought it was going to be, okay, go and just easy day at work. I'm not in the store. Cool. And then we were like, oh, yeah, moving everything all day, storm. And then it got even hotter after the storm. I was like, oh, dear Lord.
Dude, it was so
miserable.
fucking hot yesterday and today, dude.
I know. It's horrible.
And we went to go pick up the kid today, and it was in the middle of, like, a monsoon.
Oh, it came down. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And literally we got 2 miles away from where the rain was coming in so hard I could barely see, and I thought my car was going to float away, and the fucking road was dry. Like, it didn't rain there at all, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's not even, like, 2 miles.
That's how Florida was, man. You could literally see it, like, raining in your neighbor's yard across the street, and it wouldn't be raining there. But so it was unusual here. Dude, it's been, like, the past 3 days have been like scary hot. Like,
yeah.
They were like desert storm or some shit, like sandstorm coming through, and I was like, no, 2020. And then this like eerie, like hot out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, bringing it hard. I mean,
I kind of freaked out about the Sahara winds or whatever that were coming through.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Until somebody was on something, and they were like, dude, this happens every 3 years. Like,
oh, does it?
Calm the fuck down, everybody. Like, just.
Yeah, but at this point, we're all on like.
Yeah, put the fucking the shifter in neutral. Like, just chill out. And I was like, all right.
I don't remember ever hearing about a sandstorm.
I mean, I don't either. But
I mean, I didn't see a sandstorm.
Apparently, I guess they don't like talk about it. I guess it was kind of talked about this time because of everything that's been going on in 2020. So people are like, oh, clickbait, we can get you to freak out.
That's true.
And then, but the years that we have like a light hurricane season, apparently,
right,
are the years where that's coming through, because it apparently like drowns out the hurricanes.
No shit.
So,
all right.
Meteorology.
Sweet. Okay, good. No sandstorm. Fantastic.
Yeah, I did find it hilarious that somebody was like, "Oh, great, here comes the mummy."
Yeah, like, straight up, dude.
Like, yay.
Okay, what's next? Well, at this point, I'm just like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't fucking surprise me.
Well, I'm like, come on, keep throwing it. Let's get everything out of its system.
They found like they did find something like 56 or 65, something like that. Fucking sarcophaguses and shit in Egypt, and like an unsealed tomb. And,
recently?
And then they did something else, like they moved Ramsey the Great's sarcophagus out of like the place that it's been for like the last 30 or 40 fucking years, and I was like, can we stop fucking with stuff? Like,
damn it,
just for like 20 minutes, like,
wait till next year to do any uncovering of
I'm like, come on, man, can we just have like a quiet 6 months?
Wow.
End out the year on like kind of a
okay. Yeah, it doesn't even have to, like, I'm good with anticlimactic this year.
Yeah.
Let's just fucking, all right.
I swear to God, man, I hear one person at, December go, well, 2020's got to be my year. Kicking them right in the face.
Right in the nuts.
Like, 2021's got to be my year. No, dude, just
don't even.
I'm going to truck you right in your jaw.
Don't jinx us, dude. That's funny. Well, technically, we've set the bar pretty high, so really, okay. I know.
I mean, it's been a year, man. It's only been. And 6
we're not
months.
even done. That's right.
Yeah, it's been 6 months.
6 months. Speaking of monks, 6 monks.
6 months.
Speaking of, we just said time's flying because our kids are turning 2. Man, that shit is crazy.
Yeah, dude. It's pretty surreal, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's watching my little one grow up. I mean, you fucking blink and it's
I know.
I will say that about, lockdown and everything is I've gotten to watch daily him grow up, and that's been really awesome.
The time, well, yeah, man, that's I guess the sweet part. It's been bittersweet.
The upside.
The upside is that the time that you've been with him a lot, and I got to spend about 3 weeks with my kid, which is awesome. But
it's been like 4 months, man.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was very bittersweet. We had to send him back to daycare this week.
I know, and I know you were telling me that I know that sucks because I'm doing it, but he was there even longer, so I imagine it's twice as bad.
Yeah,
like
man.
for your kid to I mean, he's been there with just you for a long time.
Yeah, just me and the wife.
It's gonna be good for him though, dude.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I mean?
That is really like the balance that we're looking at. Like, he needs that interaction with other kids and kind of spread his wings and grow with his peer group, as opposed to mom and dad who help him as opposed to challenge him.
Right.
Adversity is what basically teaches us how to grow up. So I feel like that's what damage are we doing keeping him out of school versus what could he potentially be exposed to?
Well, luckily he's young enough
virally.
I mean, no, you're right, but luckily he's young enough that there's no damage that's been done. But
I mean, hopefully.
Well, right. No, dude, shit.
I'm not a fucking.
He's good, man.
Yeah.
But you're right. He needs to go and get in fights and bite kids, and you need to get letters like I am.
Yeah. Well,
my kid's a biter apparently. That's what we were just talking about.
I think there's a huge population of kids that are biters, man.
Well, it is. Like I actually called the daycare and I was like, okay, so just so you know, like, we're not parents that are blowing this off. Like, we're working with them, and they're like, dude, chill out. Like, we're not gonna kick you out. Like, this happens. There's a bunch of biters. It's usually boys. It's just, it is what it is. And kids, you don't know how to get their aggression, like when they're frustrated, and some use, biting, some hit, some cry,
I think it's probably because we have a little boy, and you have a little boy.
Right.
And there's, no other sibling, we're actually, having the discussion about number 2. But
we have as well.
The conversation, but I guess it's like a weird assumption that kids are kind of, when you don't have a kid, you kind of assume that there's going to be, rocky roads, and you're going to have to teach them this and that. But like, I didn't realize how savage a little baby boy is. Like,
savage, like how?
Like, just, I mean,
I agree,
wants to horseplay, bite, throw rocks, like the whole 9 yards, like
the epitome of being a boy. That whole like.
Right. Well, but the thing is like, so there's things that Knox has been doing while we've been in quarantine, where he hasn't seen other kids, and I'm like, where did you learn how to do this? Like, it's not on the shows that, like, he watches
a natural instinct
to do this and that, and I'm just like, where are you picking this stuff up, man? And it's not like, I mean, obviously, like, we're not teaching him.
You're like, I don't do that
behaviors.
So, right.
So
that's
it's
true. There
weird,
is a bunch of shit, and I assume that he learns it at daycare.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's stuff that he just does naturally that I just assume is daycare.
Yeah.
He'll the shit that we watch on TV. Luckily, he doesn't do movies, so he watches only like educational shit.
Yeah.
It's absolutely torture for us because it's fucking the worst.
Yeah.
But like he'll literally the other day he started singing the ABC song like all the way through, and I'm like, holy shit, dude, my
Yeah.
kid's a genius.
Yeah.
And so we Google, we're like, how old should your kid be to sing that? They're like, yeah, about 2 to 3. And I'm like, damn it,
Yeah.
he's not. He's like kind of right on par. Like
Yeah.
I thought he was advanced.
Yeah.
they're like, not really.
And like our kid does stuff when he's outside of the house. So
Yeah,
he
right.
doesn't do it in front of mom,
Right.
you know, his mom and me. But then like everyone is like,
Her
well,
parents like, yo, he did this. And
yeah,
like, damn it.
Like the first time he took steps, he did it in front of her brother
Oh,
instead
really?
of us. And I was like, well, come on, man.
Damn it, dude.
Yeah.
Videotape that shit at least.
It's like,
He went swimming with my sister, obviously, but for the first time, and I was fucking jealous as hell.
Yeah.
I was happy for him because I was working, but I was like, damn it, I want to be there for every first.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna happen. There's too many firsts.
Well, I mean, we go to the lake. So Knox was in the lake last year.
Yeah.
He was in the lake this year. And
Speaking of which, when this
Yeah,
shit
man.
opens up, you gotta throw us an
dude,
invite to
whenever
that trip.
wherever the fuck you want, man.
Yeah.
Good to go. It's not my place, so I'm inviting you to somebody else's house.
Yeah, I know, right?
Nah, man, but it's dude. I like that he gets to do things, and you know, we try to give him all those opportunities. You know,
Yeah.
but dude, it's that parental angle. It's like, okay, when am I sheltering
Yeah.
to protect him, and when am I sheltering to be a nervous fucking wreck?
Right.
And I'm holding him back. So we try to do a good balance of the two.
Dude, you guys are good parents. And what I did learn, like real quick, is don't Google shit. Like it's
No.
just, dude. Like we're figuring this shit. We're fine, dude. Our kids are alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Right.
Doing all right for that.
Doing all right.
My kid sleeps in his own bed, so
Yeah, we tried that last night. Nah, not yet.
now we put him down at 8. Last night he fell asleep at 10. So
But he just chilled in his
yeah,
thing.
it's chill.
No, not in this house, man.
Not a
we screwed the pooch on that one. But it is what it is. So, well, shit, man. We're like 11 minutes or so in, and this episode that I'm about to throw at you is a doozy, and there's a lot of information. So,
Okay.
let's knock some plugs out and then fucking get into it, man.
Boatbasement.com.
That's it. All right, and now on to the show. Oh shit! So boatbasement.com is wrong, by the way.
Yeah,
It's
I know.
boatbasement at Gmail.
I thought it was fucking hilarious.
It was. No, but so our website, however, is. I'm testing you.
No, I don't know. I'm gonna say I don't know forever.
It's boatpodcast.com.
Yeah.
So yeah, hit up the new website, Boat Podcast.
Boat podcast.
Boatpodcast.com. Hit us up on the Gmail if you want at boatbasement@gmail.com. Or if you are like me and you spend way too much time on social media, then check us out on Facebook or Instagram at
Based on True Events podcast.
there it is, or on the Twitter.
We're podcast boat.
BOTE, that's right. You can search for us on YouTube. We got a YouTube channel where we're uploading the new videos, and we're working on some new video ideas. We're trying to constantly improve the quality and change some shit up. So
Yeah, man, we're working.
yeah,
We're putting some work in.
We're figuring it out as we go.
We're quickly approaching 11,000 downloads, man.
Man, thank you guys. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. So
It is awesome, and you can tell that people are the numbers have creeped up even more so in the past couple days, or actually week.
yeah.
So I don't know if people are officially like out and about driving around, because I feel like that's where most people listen to podcasts, is in their car. But whatever it is, keep doing it,
Yeah.
because we're fucking digging it. Keep some suggestions coming, because
Right.
we're still doing our I Wrote for Boat.
I wrote for boat, and then we're doing the winner takes all. I'm just kidding. We're doing the suggested episode order.
Yeah.
So the biggest votes gets the first lead, and then however those suggestions rank up, we're gonna do them in that order.
Yeah, you'll see it on. We'll post it here soon. We've been knocking out some of the items some of the topics on our list, and some just ones that have just kind of come up. But we are gonna. You'll see there'll be like choose 4.
Yeah.
And we want you to choose 2. Pick your top 2 favorite, and we'll knock them out in that order. because like Shep said a while back, this is just as much your podcast as it is ours.
Yeah, you guys are the ones, who are listening faithfully and supporting us. So we want it to be what you guys want it to be.
Damn right.
Damn straight.
So let me mute my phone. Solid little bing bing. Well, yeah. So this is my episode this evening, and just fair warning. I mean, now technically, season 3, man. Other than my little idiot criminal or idiots of crime episode, you've come with some heavy content, Geen, and then. Dude,
80,000
Vlad
plus.
Dracula, man.
80,000 plus on Vlad Dracula.
Go back and listen. Go back and listen to all of our shit. But man, season 3, Shep is bringing the heat, and I feel like I had to crank mine up.
It's been kind of fun too, man. Because I did my historical guy, and then I did like the root of like a lot of different horror films.
Yeah,
and so
Geen
cool
was brutal as I knew it was going to be. Vlad, the Impaler,
did it creep up on you?
Was way more brutal. I mean, you had even said, dude, I'm telling you, biggest body count, and I'm going, bullshit, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it didn't disappoint. That was a cool one because it is historical, and that's kind of your, your bag.
Yeah.
And so
I tend to enjoy it.
It was like your world mixed with my world, which is cannibalism and disgust.
So,
oh shit. I'm not a cannibal, I swear. I just like really dark shit for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so this gentleman that I'm doing this evening, Peter Kurten. Now, before I jump in, do you know anything about Peter Kurten? A.K.A. The Vampire of Dusseldorf, Dusseldorf Monster. Those are kind of the two
Does he make
monikers.
mustard? Did he make mustard for White Castle?
I don't. Why?
Dusseldorf mustard is
Is that White Castle? I only eat honey mustard at White Castle on them chicken rings.
You're a trash human being, and everyone should hate you.
First of all, White Castle, round chicken. Yep.
Yeah.
That's got to be
Dude,
not
it's
processed.
fucking good, man.
It is good.
I mean, it's terrible coming out, but it's awesome to eat.
It is. So no, it has nothing to do with mustard that I know of. But so I'm going to jump into it, and I did write a ton of notes because I've been hanging on to this one for about 2 weeks now, which I'm ready to let go of this one. But I noticed that my notes were kind of all over the place because I was going to all these different sites, and I said, you know what, fuck it, I'm not gonna cheat because I've listened to like 4 podcasts on this guy because I wanted to hear everybody's take, and it's all about the same. Every single one of them got it from Wiki. 100%. So I'm going right and fucking right in order. Yeah.
Dig in.
Well, they literally cover. This is the first time that Wiki actually covered almost everything that I would have covered in my notes, but it's basically it's better written or more legible at least.
Yeah. Well, we'll at least go with legible.
Yeah, that's true.
I've seen your chicken scratch fucking hieroglyphics that you write.
Dude, it's something else, man. But hey, it is what it is. All right, so I'm going to jump into Peter Kurten here. He was born into a poverty-stricken, abusive family in Mulheim am Rhein on May 26, 1883. So we're going back. He was the third of 13 children, two of whom died at an early age.
Did he kill them?
No, he didn't.
I just got to check, dude.
Kurten's parents were not great. Let's just start off. They were both alcoholics who lived in a 1-bedroom apartment.
13 kids in a 1-bedroom apartment?
Yeah, well, 11, 2 died. But yeah, I know. Crammed in there. Parents were both alcoholics. Now, the father was an abusive prick, a horrible, despicable human being. The mother, and I'm just guessing, was an alcoholic because she had to live with that man. So, but anyway, it is written that both of them were alcoholics. Kurten's father frequently beat his wife and children, particularly when he was drunk. When intoxicated, Kurten's father often forced his wife and children to assemble before him, before ordering his wife to strip naked and engage in intercourse with him as his children watched. So, what I was getting ready to say,
charmer,
dude. Yeah, he's quality guy.
Mm-hmm.
What I was getting ready to say, just heads up, everyone, trigger warnings galore on this one. Before we start talking about Geen, that's what I was going to say. This one's pretty heavy, and there's some tough stuff to stomach. So yeah, basically his father would literally rape his mom in front of his children, and we've talked about a lot of times. Is this why are you born bad or whatever? This one I'm leaning towards your environment is partly to blame here.
There's 10 arguments against that.
Yeah,
the
other kids.
Sitting in his life.
I know.
Okay, but okay.
So okay,
I'm not saying it helped. I'm just not saying that that's necessarily the
why the rest of them weren't.
Yeah.
Whatever he's about, whatever you'll find out. Yeah, but I agree with you. But I'm just saying, everybody handles shit differently. So his father was horrible, and obviously he did that in front of his kids. His father was jailed for 15 months in 1894 for committing incest with his eldest daughter, who was 13 years old. Shortly after that, his mom finally decided to leave him and remarried and relocated to Dusseldorf. In 1888, Kurten attempted to...
Did she take the kids?
They didn't say. They kind of literally left the mom out of the story. Any documentation, at least that I found from here, that was it. No more talk about mom.
So I would imagine she probably didn't take the kids.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Or 11 of them, I would have a feeling she took some.
you and
me. Yeah, that's fucked. So, being the eldest surviving son, Kurten was the target of much of his father's physical abuse. Although he was a good student, he later recollected his academic performance suffered due to his extensive physical violence he endured from his father. He frequently refused to return home from school. Well, duh. I wouldn't either. From an early age, Kurten often ran away from home for periods of time ranging from days to weeks. Much of the time Kurten spent on the streets was in the company of petty criminals and social misfits. Via these acquaintances, Kurten was introduced to various forms of petty crime, which he initially committed as means of feeding and clothing himself when living on the streets. So Kurten later claimed, by the way, all this information, because then you're going to ask, well, how do they know that? He has literally told his story.
Okay.
So anything, and that's why often they say right here, Kurten later claimed to have committed his first murder at the age of 9. And I'll paraphrase. Basically, he went out on the river or lake or something with 2 of his classmates, 9 years old, and pushed one of the kids in. And when the other boy jumped in to help the other kid, he held that boy's head under the water. They both drowned. Kurten.
So he really killed 2.
When a second boy attempted to save the drowning youngster, Kurten held the boy's head in the water. But both deaths were ruled by authorities as being accidental. But Kurten had said that he did
later
it
on
intentionally. Yeah. Now, something that they skip over, they kind of mention it a little bit here. In 88, Kurten attempted to drown his playmates. 4 years later, he befriended a local dog catcher who lived in the same building as his family and began accompanying him on rounds. This individual often tortured and killed the animals he caught, and Kurten soon became an active and willing participant in torturing the animals. Lots of role models.
Yeah, it seems like the Rhine area is
not
full of the charmers.
Yeah, I mean, most of the people who did the research on this and a lot of the videos and stuff I watched, they were saying this kid never had a chance, and I don't agree with that. I say that obviously his upbringing had some effects.
Adverse effects.
Right. But I don't. You can't blame all this shit on. You're right. If there was 11, murderers,
okay,
then fair enough. All right. At age 13, Kurten formed a relationship with a girl his age who, although happy to allow Kurten to undress and fondle her, would resist any attempts he made to engage in intercourse. Getting shut down, dude. She's 13. Like, I mean,
yeah.
To relieve his sexual urges, Kurten resorted to acts of bestiality with the sheep, pigs, and goats in local stables, but later claimed he had obtained his greatest sense of elation if he actually stabbed these animals just before he achieved orgasm. Gross. Fucking gross.
Dude, I mean... you can stop at bestiality. Like
Oh.
I was already like, this is disgusting.
Okay.
You
I
didn't
thought
have
you were
you
really
didn't
gonna
have
say-
to add that they were stabbed for me to be like, oh, that's a little adverse.
Okay. Well, dude, the way you led into it, I thought you were going to give like some sort of like pro, like, well, dude, but you know
No,
what I mean?
no. I was like, hey man.
I was like, where are you going with that?
like we stop
Okay.
we could stop at bestiality, bro.
Well, trust me, I'm reading a lot more than just that. You're welcome. Thus, he began stabbing and slashing animals with increasing frequency to achieve orgasm. And I don't laugh. It's just I'm part of the reason I'm also reading this is when I was writing this, I was writing notes. I couldn't bring myself to write orgasm, and like I didn't know how to word it, and I felt so awkward doing it. I mean, dude, this episode, there's a lot of orgasms, plural. So just bear with me if I like giggle or something. It's not because I'm finding this. It's defense 100%.
You're a 12-year-old boy. It's fine.
That is true. Although he was adamant his behavior ended when he was Thus he began I don't need to read it again to achieve Although he was adamant that this behavior ended when he was observed stabbing a pig. He also attempted to rape the same sister his father had earlier molested. I mean, do as daddy does, but still, I'm sorry, like you still should see something wrong in that. Not this kid's fucked from an early age,
Yeah.
and I don't just blame the father, you know. Yeah. In '87, Kurten left school, and his father's at his father's insistence, he obtained employment as an apprentice molder. The apprenticeship lasted for 2 years before Kurten stole all the money he could find in the household, plus approximately 300 marks. Damn. He ran away from home, relocated to Koblenz, where he began a brief relationship with a prostitute 2 years his senior, who he claimed willingly submitted to every form of sexual perversion he demanded of her. He was apprehended just 4 weeks later and charged with both breaking and entering and theft, and subsequently sentenced to 1 month's imprisonment. He was released from prison in '89 and reverted to the life of petty crime he had lived before his arrest. Kurten claimed to have committed his first murder. There's no proof of this, but this is one that he just basically claimed. And a lot of these guys that get locked up, you never know.
Yeah.
That's happened a lot, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they just making shit up at this point, or So you never know. But Kurten claimed to have committed his first murder in November 1899, which actually, if he claimed to
the 9-year-olds,
right, so he's kind of counter.
Yeah. Wow.
Interesting. I just picked up on that. Because if he claimed that this is his first murder, but he just already said that he killed anyway. So in his 1930 confessions to investigators, Kurten claimed to have picked up an 18-year-old girl at the Alestrib, and persuaded her to accompany him to the Hofgarten, where he claims to have engaged in sex with the girl before strangling her to death with his bare hands. No contemporary record exists to corroborate Kurten's claims. If this attack did take place, the victim likely survived the assault. Nonetheless, Kurten later stated that via his committing this act, he had proven to himself that the greatest height of sexual ecstasy could only be achieved in this manner. Shortly thereafter, in 1900, Kurten was arrested for fraud. He would be rearrested later the same year on the same charge, although on this second occasion, charges pertaining to his 1899 Dusseldorf thefts plus the attempted murder of a girl with a firearm were added to his indictment. Consequently, Kurten was sentenced to 4 years imprisonment in October 1900. He served the sentence in Derendorf, a borough of Dusseldorf. This is really long, so I'm going to jump a little bit ahead, but he was released in the summer of 1904. He was drafted into the Army. As soon as he got drafted, he dipped out. Like,
he just bounced.
Yeah, deployed to Minsk to serve in the 98th Infantry Regiment, although he soon deserted. He literally took off. The autumn, Kurten began committing acts of arson, which he would discreetly watch from a distance as emergency services attempted to extinguish the fires. A lot of people do that too, you know. It's like a common thing to sit after they commit a crime. They stick around because I guess they enjoy watching discomfort. it's fucked, but it's common. Like we've heard this.
Yeah, they like watching their work, man.
Yeah,
They're proud of what they're
proud
doing.
of it, I guess. Yeah, it's dark. The majority of these fires.
At what point in this story was it not dark?
No, it's from the jump. It's this is a dark one. The majority of these fires were in barns and haylofts, and Kurten would admit to police he had committed around 24 acts of arson upon his arrest that New Year's Eve. He also freely admitted these fires had been committed both for his sexual excitement and in hopes of burning sleeping tramps alive. Jesus. As a result of his desertion, Kurten was tried by the military system and convicted of desertion in addition to multiple counts of arson, robbery, and attempted robbery. He was in prison from 1905 to 1913. Quite a few years.
8.
Yeah. Kurten served his sentence in Munster, ish, with much of his time spent in solitary confinement for repeated instances of insubordination. He would later claim to investigators and psychologists this period of incarceration was that in which he first encountered severe forms of discipline, and as such, the erotic fantasies he had earlier developed while incarcerated in Dusseldorf expanded to include graphic fantasies of striking out at society and killing masses of people. These fantasies became ever more paramount and overbearing in his mind, and Kurten later claimed that he derived the sort of pleasure from these visions that other people would get from thinking about a naked woman, adding that he occasionally spontaneously ejaculated while preoccupied with such thoughts. Yeah.
I'm just sitting back.
I know, man. There's not much. It's going to be hard to crack jokes on this one. And this is where it gets pretty tough to even read, so bear with me, everyone. The first murder Kurten definitively committed, is that right? Definitively? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Committed occurred on May 25th, 1913. During the course of a burglary at a tavern in the town of Mulheim and Rhein, he encountered a 9-year-old girl named Christine Klein asleep in her bed. His words here. It was on May 25th, 1913. I had been stealing, specializing in public bars or inns where the owner lived on the floor above. In a room above an inn at Mulheim, I discovered a child of about 10 asleep. Her head was facing the window. I seized it with my left hand and strangled her for about a minute and a half. The child woke up and struggled, but lost consciousness. I had a small but sharp pocket knife with me, and I held the child's head and cut her throat. I heard the blood spurt and drip on the mat beside the bed. It spurted in an arch right over my head. The whole thing lasted about 3 minutes. Then I locked the door again and went back home to Dusseldorf. Yeah, he's one of the worst, if not the worst, that I've personally researched.
I mean, Fish was bad too.
Fish was really bad. I mean, you're right. Yeah, there's something about this guy that. Oof. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, trigger warning, everyone. They left this part out, and I know I know you're gonna say that. I know, but he slashed her twice across the throat with a pocket knife, ejaculating as he heard the blood dripping from the wounds onto the floor by her bed. And the only reason I read that part is because I do leave it out. I'm going to try to leave it out the next couple of times because that happens every single time, and they have to let us know. And so I'm going to try not to let you know at this point. Just assume that that's part of it. It's the reason he's doing these murders, committing these murders, is for sexual gratification. Clearly, we've had some people that's not a part of their MO.
Yeah,
it's his MO.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, I mean, dude, he's gotten. You've already had the discussion where like he has like sexual feelings about killing massive amounts of people and lashing out against society and gets aroused by arson. So
yeah,
I'm kind of assuming he has sex with pigs and goats. I don't think anything's off the table.
He's literally a pig fucker.
Yeah.
No, he's a sexual sadist, man. He's disgusting. The following day, Curtin specifically returned to Cologne to drink in a tavern located directly opposite that in which he had murdered Christine Klein, in order that he could listen to the locals' reactions to the child's murder. He later recollected to investigators that he derived an extreme sense of gratification from the general disgust, repulsion, and outrage that he heard in the patrons' conversations. Moreover, in the weeks following Klein's funeral, he occasionally traveled to Mulheim am Rhein to visit the child's grave, adding that when he handled the soil covering her grave, he spontaneously ejaculated. I don't know if I'm going to be able to leave some of this out. 2 months later, again in the course of committing a burglary with the aid of a skeleton key, Curtin broke into a home of Dusseldorf. Discovering a 17-year-old girl named Gertrude Franken, Curtin manually strangled the girl. Of course, we know what he did at the sight of blood spouting from her mouth. Curtin managed to escape from the scene of both this murder and that of Klein undetected. Just days after the murder of Gertrude Franklin, on July 14th, Curtin was arrested for a series of arson attacks and burglaries.
Okay, so what's this dude look like?
Yeah, so one thing that they leave out, but I did read a lot, is he was always in a suit, like dressed to the nine. He didn't look... I mean, he wasn't like a Ted Bundy, like he wasn't like a super handsome, charming... He was never described as that, but he was always well-groomed and like, you know, was able to kind of go in and out of crowds and be around people without looking, you know, sketchy, I guess.
Okay, because I was like, dude, if he looks like the fucking devil incarnate, which is what he sounds like,
yeah, right.
Like, what? Like, just pick him up off the fucking
immediately.
Like, what's this guy do? Especially like he's hanging out around the grave.
Yeah. Oh, and something they left out in Wiki that was crazy is that when he was watching the first little girl that he killed, one of the girl's father, I want to say it was the uncle. He knew that he had got away with it because the uncle, the father's brother, and he got into a big old fight apparently like the day before, and he said, "Well, I'm coming back. I'm gonna get you." Like, and so there was this huge thing like in the bar apparently, and the guy's initials, the uncle's initials was the same, PK, Peter Curtin, and there was a bandana or something that was left at the scene with PK, and so they actually arrested the uncle. They later they realized it wasn't him, but imagine like, holy fuck! When I said I was threatening you, like, never would have been to that extent. Like, just fuck the same initials. Like the chances of that, you know. But I can't remember what made me think of that. But regardless, like he knew he was off scot-free. Is that the saying, scot-free?
Yeah.
I feel like I always say that wrong.
No, you got that one right.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
I'm working on it. All right. So he doesn't look... There's some images of him, like a little bit older. If you Google it, like there's pictures of him. And he doesn't... Now that you know what kind of person he is, he looks horrifying.
Right.
But if you didn't know the story and then you saw a picture, you would just think he was like, regular Joe.
Okay.
There's a few of the guys like you've talked about that.
Yeah, there's a few guys where you're like, why
that's him.
Yeah, like... the case is solved. Like,
right. So this dude got arrested all the time for everything other than
he's already
murder.
done like 13 years in prison,
right?
By the way.
And he loved being inside. He used to commit, like he would basically act up in prison, so they'd lock him back up in solitary confinement so he could have them dark, weird, disgusting thoughts in privacy. Anyway, he was sentenced to 6 years imprisonment, although he repeated instances of insubordination while in prison.
That's like 18 years.
Yeah, saw his incarceration extended by a further 2 years. Curtin served the sentence in a military prison in the town of Breg, then part of the German Empire. Released in April 1921, Curtin relocated to Altenburg, where he initially lived with his sister. Though his sister... God,
was it the sister that he tried to rape?
They didn't say, but I can't imagine, but I'm sure they all knew about it.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, you're living with me.
Yeah, like, no.
No, hell no, dude. Like,
that was just, you was just being a kid.
Oh, you were young.
No.
Yeah, fuck no.
No.
Right.
Get the fuck out.
Through his sister, Kurten became acquainted with a woman 3 years his senior named August Scharf, a sweet shop proprietor and former prostitute who had previously been convicted of shooting her fiancé to death. I forgot about this. And to whom Kurten initially posed as a former prisoner of war. 2 years later, Kurten and Scharf married, and although the couple regularly engaged in sex, Kurten later admitted he could consummate his marriage only by fascinating about committing violence against other individuals. Duh. And that, after their wedding night, he engaged in intercourse with his wife only at her invitation. For the first time in his life, Kurten obtained regular employment, also becoming an active trades union official, although with the exception of his wife, he formed no close friendships.
Shocker that nobody wanted to hang out with
I know,
this guy.
right? Yeah.
Dude, you keep fucking my goat. Like, you can't come over anymore, man.
Stop fucking my animals.
Yeah. Like,
it's not okay.
You're staring at my kid weird. Like, get the fuck out.
Pete, for real.
Yeah.
Knock that shit off. Oh, that's horrible. Well, that's what we do. Okay, so for the first time in 1925, he returned with his wife to Dusseldorf, where he soon began affairs with a servant girl named Tiede, and a housemaid named...
Her name was Ted?
Tiede. I tried to go like Tiede.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a servant girl named Ted, and and a housemaid named Mech, M-E-C-H. Meh. Ted Mech. And Meh. Both women were frequently subjected to partial... I was laughing. I can't even read that sentence. Both women were frequently subjected to partial strangulation when they submitted to intercourse. With Tiede, once being informed by Kurten, that's what love means. When his wife discovered his infidelity, Tiede reported Kurten to police, claiming he had seduced her. Mech alleged Kurten had raped her. Damn. Like, bad timing to laugh. Like, I can't get through a fucking sentence. It's so awful. The more serious charge was later dropped, although Tiede's allegations were pursued, thus earning him an 8-month prison sentence for seduction and threatening behavior. Kurten served 6 months of the sentence, with his early release being upon the condition he left Dusseldorf. He later successfully appealed the ruling that he relocate from Dusseldorf. They're like, well, dude, we'll let you out if you just leave.
And then they were like, nah, that's cool. You can stay.
Yeah, right. It's fucked.
Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure that this is the guy who killed everybody at that farm in the Hinterkaifeck story.
No shit, dude. I thought about this, by the way. That's exactly what came to my mind. I'm glad you brought that up. Which I really want to redo that episode since the audio was so shitty that it's not even on our sites anymore.
Yeah. Well,
anywho, maybe if you're a patron, we'll
give that back.
Hint. All right, so brace yourself. It gets a little gnarly here. Again. Yeah. On February 3rd, 1929, Kurten stalked an elderly woman named Apollonia Kuhn. Waiting until Kuhn was shielded from the view of potential witnesses by bushes, Kurten pounced upon her, grabbing her by the lapels of her coat and shouting the words, "No row, don't scream," before dragging her into nearby undergrowth, where he proceeded to stab her 24 times with a sharpened pair of scissors. Although many of the blows were inflicted so deeply that the scissors struck her bones, Kuhn survived her injuries. There's a picture of these scissors, and it's scary. They're massive. And to go to bone, man, you think how, like, just angry or violent you have to stab?
No, I'd rather not.
Well, that's fair. That just, for some reason, the scissors really bother me.
And this is
I know
against his MO
right.
as well. He's been going after the younger crowd.
Yeah. On February 8th, Kurten strangled a 9-year-old girl named Rosa. You had to say something. Olinger into unconsciousness before stabbing her in the stomach, temple, genitals, and heart with a pair of scissors spontaneously as he knifed the child. He then Oh, God.
You picked the episode, dude.
He then inserted his semen into her vagina with his fingers. He then made a rudimentary effort to hide Olinger's body by dragging it beneath a hedge. before returning to the scene with a bottle of kerosene several hours later and setting the child's body alight. Achieving an orgasm at the sight of the flames, Olinger's body was found beneath a hedge the following day. On February 13th, wow, they just keep going. On February 13th, he murdered a 45-year-old mechanic named Rudolf Scheer in the suburb of Flungen Nord, stabbing him 20 times, particularly about the head, back, and eyes. Following the discovery of Scheer's body, Kurten returned to the scene of the murder to converse with police, falsely informing one detective he had heard about the murder via telephone. That paragraph was hard to read. I know it was a lot, but that's like three people in one little stretch, and he was all over the place. Elderly woman, young girl, man. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't think for him it's just all about the blood. It's about seeing, you know,
it's about the murder.
About the murder itself. Yeah, the act of murdering. Yeah, we've had some people who said they hated the murder part.
Yeah,
I think Fish might have even. Anyway, despite the differences in age and sex of these three victims, the fact that all three crimes had been committed in the Flingern district at Dusseldorf at dusk, that each victim had received a multitude of stab wounds likely inflicted in rapid succession and invariably involving at least one wound to the temple, plus the absence of a common motive such as robbery, led investigators to conclude the same perpetrator had committed all three attacks. Furthermore, the seemingly random selection of these victims led criminologists to remark as to the abnormal nature of the perpetrator. They didn't mention it here. They may mention it in a minute, but part of the whole vampire of Dusseldorf is he would drink blood from a lot of his victims. Like, literally, there was a few of them, and I'm kind of glad they left it out, although I'm about to tell you, that literally, like, he would drink, that's why he would stab him in the temple. For some reason, like, it was easy for him to drink. Yeah. Because, you know, the temple on every single person, that's like the one thing they had in common, I guess. Because I always wondered, why were they calling him the vampire? Like, there's no, but that's the whole reason.
Okay.
Because I knew you were wondering. You just been sitting like, well, why do they call him the vampire?
Now, I was gonna do my usual thing, like let you wrap up and then
all right.
Shit on your.
Like I said, there's a lot, so I'll try to. You get the gist, though. I'll skip over maybe one or two.
I got it like 10 minutes ago, dude.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't need the continuation. You could have just been like, well, then he hit 1, 2, 3, 4.
There was 15 more.
Yeah, there's 15, 25 more, 77.
Well, it was like your boy that. Where you actually made notes for the first time, and what was his name? Panzer, man. It was just like rapid succession of events. I feel like it's the similar thing. Let's see. So, although Kurten did attempt to strangle despite difference. Okay, I'll just kind of summarize a little bit here so we get kind of an idea of the number. Although Kurten did attempt to strangle 4 women between March and July of 1929, one of whom he claimed to have thrown into the Rhine River, he is not known to have killed any further victims until August 11th, when he raped, strangled, and repeatedly stabbed a young woman named Maria Kahn. Hahn died, and I'll skip. Yeah, you know what happened. Hahn died approximately 1 hour after Kurten had begun attacking her, fearful his wife might connect the blood stains she had noted on his clothes with Hahn's murder. Kurten later buried her body in a cornfield, only to return to her body several weeks later in the intention of nailing her decomposing remains to a tree in a mock crucifixion to shock and disgust the public. However, Hahn's remains proved...
They better fucking kill this guy.
Hahn's remains proved too heavy for Kurten to complete this act, and he simply returned her corpse to the grave before embracing and caressing the decomposing body as he lay beneath her remains. He then reburied Hahn's body. According to Kurten's later confession, both before and after he had attempted to impale Hahn's corpse to a tree, he went to the grave many times and kept improving on it, and every time I thought of what was lying there and was filled with satisfaction. 3 months after Kurten had removed had murdered Maria Hahn, he posted an anonymous letter to the police in which he confessed to Hahn's murder, adding that her remains had been buried in a field. In this letter, Kurten also drew a crude map describing the location of her remains. This letter would prove sufficiently detailed to enable investigators to locate Hahn's remains on November 15th. It's weird that he did that.
That's weird.
Well, no, but like
that's
it's not,
weird.
No, it's weird for him. I get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them, we've said this before, like send letters to cops, and is it because they want to get caught, or is it because they're bragging because they know they can?
They're bragging dragons.
Yeah. Following the murder of Maria Khan, Kurten changed his choice of weapon from scissors to a knife in an apparent effort to convince police more than one perpetrator was responsible for the spate of assaults and murders. In the early morning of August 21st, Kurten randomly stabbed an 18-year-old girl, a 30-year-old man, and a 37-year-old woman in separate attacks. All three were seriously wounded and stated to the police their assailant had not spoken a word to them before he had attacked them. Yeah, he was like randomly like walking by, like he stabbed one lady just in the side, just walking by her. Fucking horrible. 3 days later, at a fairground in the suburb of Flay, he observed two foster sisters, age 5 and 14, walking from the fairgrounds, through adjoining allotments en route to their home. I don't like this part. I don't like any of the part, but this one's tough too. So, sending the older girl, Louise, on an errand to purchase cigarettes for him upon the promise of giving 20 pfennig. I guess that's the...
Who gives a shit?
I know. He basically told her, I'll give you some money if you go buy me cigarettes. Kurten lifted the younger girl, Gertrude, off the ground by her neck and strangled her into unconsciousness before cutting her throat and discarding her body in a patch of runner beans. What the fuck that is. When Linzen returned to the scene, Kurten partially strangled her before stabbing her about the torso, with one wounding piercing her aorta. He also bit and twice cut her throat before sucking blood from the wounds. Neither girl had been sexually assaulted, and the fact only Linzen's footprints were found within 7 meters of her body suggests that she may have attempted to flee from her attacker before collapsing. The following day, Kurten accosted a 27-year-old housemaid named Gertrude, who he openly asked to engage in sex with him. Upon being rebuffed, Kurten shouted, "Well, die then," before repeatedly stabbing the woman in the head, neck, shoulder, and back. Schultz survived her injuries. Sorry, I'm cruising through so quick.
You're good.
Yeah, she survived her injuries, although she was unable to provide investigators with a clear description of her assailant beyond assuming his age to be around 40. Kurten attempted to murder 2 further victims, one by strangulation, another by stabbing, in September before opting to predominantly use a hammer in his murders.
How the fuck is this guy getting away with like
this much?
Like staying like
in the same
away from... I mean, he's got to be covered in blood walking around.
I know. I don't know. So this is the last little bit before we get to what happened and, you know, hammer attacks. But so you had said it. Well, he's using the same. So he's switching it up because he thinks he's smart. Well, technically, I guess he was smart enough to go get away with it this long. But on the evening of September the 30th, Kurten encountered a 31-year-old servant girl named Ida Reuter at Dusseldorf station. He successfully persuaded Reuter to accompany him to a cafe, then for a walk through the local Hofgarten close to the Rhine River. At this location, he repeatedly struck her about the head with a hammer, both before and after he had raped her. At one stage in the assault, Reuter regained consciousness and began pleading with Kurten to spare her life. In response, Kurten simply gave her another hammer blow on the head and misused her. I'm not sure. Anyway, 11 days later, on October 11th, he encountered a 22-year-old. Same sort of thing for a drink. Took a train alongside Klein Dussel River, where she was struck once across her right temple with a hammer, and then he raped her. Kurten struck her repeatedly about the head on both temples. All right, I'm trying to get past this. Doria was found at 6:30 in the morning. Okay, on October 25th, Kurten attacked 2 women with a hammer. Both survived, although in the second instance, this was only because Kurten's hammer broke during the attack. On November 7th, 1929, Kurten encountered a 5-year-old girl named Gertrude in the Same district of Dusseldorf, he persuaded the child to accompany him to a section of deserted allotments where he seized her by the throat, strangled her, and you understand what happened. These were all in the same area.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, how the fuck did he get away with this? That long?
For that long. By the late summer of 1929, the murders committed by the individuals the press had dubbed the Vampire of Dusseldorf was receiving considerable national and international attention. Yeah, due to the sheer savagery of the murders, the diverse background of the victims, and the differing methods in which they had been assaulted and or murdered, both the police and the press theorized the spate of assaults and murders were the work of more than one perpetrator. By the end of 29, Dusseldorf police had received more than 13,000 letters from the public, with assistance from the surrounding police forces. Each lead was painstakingly pursued. 13,000 letters. 9,000 individuals were interviewed. There was a list of 900,000 different names on the suspect list. Jesus. 2 days after the murder of Gertrude, a local communist newspaper received a map revealing the location of the grave of Maria Hahn. In this drawing, Kurten also revealed precisely where he had left Albermann's body, describing the exact position of her corpse, which he stated okay. So basically, he's telling him where all this stuff is. One man, because he was sending all this detail, they realized, okay, there's only one guy that we're looking for. In 1930, the murder of Gertrude Albermann proved to be Kurten's final fatal attack. Although he did engage in a spate of non-fatal hammer attacks and attempted strangulations between February and May 1930, maiming 10 victims in these assaults, all recipients survived, and many were able to describe their attacker to the police. On May 14th, 1930, an unknown man approached a 20-year-old woman named Maria Budlick at Dusseldorf Station. He was trying to basically get her to take a walk with them. She said, okay. The pair began to argue, whereupon another man approached the duo asking, basically, she was telling him to fuck off, and he started arguing with her. Another guy walked up. The identity of the man who ostensibly came to Budlick's aid was Peter Kurten. Oh, no. Sorry. Flip that around. Peter Kurten actually walked up and trying to help. Of course. Kurten invited the distressed young woman to his apartment on Metmanner Strabe to eat and drink before Budlick. Correctly deducing the underlying motive for Kurten. Okay. Yeah. That's why he was being hospitable is what they're saying. She was not interested in having sex with him. He became upset. She went back to the hotel with him, though. He seized her by the throat, attempted to strangle her as he raped her. When Budlick began to scream, Kurten released his grasp on her throat before allowing her to leave. Budlick did not report the assault to the police, but described her ordeal in a letter to a friend, although she addressed the letter incorrectly. As such, the letter was opened in the post office by a clerk on May 19th. Upon reading the contents of the letter, the clerk forwarded the letter to the Dusseldorf police. The letter was read by Chief Inspector Gnarly, who deduced that there was a slim chance Budlick's assailant might be the Dusseldorf murderer. Chief Inspector interviewed, who recounted the ordeal, further divulging one of the reasons Kurten had spared her was because she had falsely informed him she could not remember his address. She agreed to lead the police to Kurten's home on whatever street that is. When the landlady of the property led Budlick into the room of 71 Metmanner Strabe, Budlick confirmed to the Chief Inspector Gnarly that this was the address of her assailant. The landlady confirmed to the Chief Inspector the tenant's name was Peter Kurten. So the letter that she wrote to a friend was essentially his downfall. He wasn't home when Budlick and the Chief Inspector Gnarly searched the property. He spotted the pair in the communal hallway and promptly left. Knowing that he was busted, essentially, he told his wife, hey, I'm the Vampire of Dusseldorf, came clean, said, go collect the reward money, turn me in. With his wife's consent, he found lodging in a different district of Dusseldorf and did not return home until May 23rd. Let me skip ahead. He gets it. Kurten freely admitted his guilt and all the crimes police had attributed to the vampire of Dusseldorf, and further confessed he had committed the unsolved murders of Christine Klein and Gertrude Franklin in 1913. In total, Kurten admitted to 68 crimes, including 10 murders and 31 attempted murders. So he claimed 68 crimes, but 10 murders.
Sounded like a lot more when you were going through.
Yeah, and 31 attempted murder. A lot of those people survived, though. They were horrific, I know, and the ones that stick in your mind are obviously the children and things, but a lot of them survived. He made no excuses. He made no attempt to excuse his crimes, but justified them upon the basis of what he saw as the injustices he had endured throughout his life. Nonetheless, he was adamant he had not tortured any of his child victims. Kurten also admitted to both investigators and psychiatrists that the actual sight of the victim's blood was, on many occasions, sufficient to bring him to orgasm, and that, on occasion, if he experienced ejaculation in the act of strangling a woman, he would immediately become apologetic to his victims, proclaiming, "That's what love is all about." Fuck that. His further claimed to have drunk the blood from the throat of one victim, from the temple of another, and to have licked the blood from a third victim's hands. In one of these instances, he had drunk so much blood from the neck wound that he had inflicted upon Maria Hahn that he vomited. Kurten also admitted to having decapitated a swan in the spring of 1930 in order that he could drink the blood from the animal's neck, achieving ejaculation. God. As Kurten awaited his trial, then he later awaited his execution. He was extensively interviewed by Dr. Carl Berg. He tried to, I'll summarize this. He tried to claim insanity, and the dude was like, "Fuck no."
Yeah.
Finally, somebody said,
No,
dude. He contracted these. Both Berg and other psychologists concluded Kurten was not insane, was fully able to control his actions, and appreciated the criminality of his conduct. Each ruled Kurten was legally sane and competent to stand trial. On April 13th, 1931, Peter Kurten stood trial in Dusseldorf. He was charged with 9 counts of murder and 7 attempted murders. He was tried before presiding judge Dr. Rose. Kurten pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity to each of these charges. Kurten was and his feet were shackled. Proceedings began with the prosecution formally reciting each of the charges against Kurten before they recited the formal confession he had provided to the police following his arrest. When then asked by the proceeding judge to describe what had continued to... All right, I'm going to get through this. My desire for injuring people awoke. The love of setting fire to things awoke as well. The sight of flames excited me, but above all, it was the excitement of the attempts to extinguish the fire and the agitation of those who saw the property being destroyed. So he's talking about his arson and everything else. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Further proof, Kurten's awareness upon crossing... He was found guilty as hell. The trial lasted 10 days. On April 22nd, the jury retired to consider their verdict. They deliberated for under 2 hours before reaching their verdict. Kurten was found guilty and sentenced to death on 9 accounts of murder. He was found guilty of 7 accounts of attempted murder. Kurten displayed no emotion as the sentence was passed. Although his final address to the court, he did state that he now saw his crimes as being so ghastly that he did not want to make any sort of excuse for them. Kurten did not lodge an appeal for his convictions, although he did submit a petition for pardon to the Minister of Justice, who was known to be an opponent of capital punishment. The petition was formally rejected on July 1st. Kurten remained composed upon receipt of this news and asked for permission to see his confessor, to write letters of apology to the relatives of the victims, and a final farewell letter to his wife. All these requests were granted. On the evening of July 31st, 1931, Kurten received his last meal. He ordered Wiener Schnitzel, a bottle of white wine, and fried potatoes. He devoured his entire meal before requesting a second. At 6 o'clock in the morning of July 2nd, Peter Kurten was beheaded by guillotine in the grounds of Klingelputz prison, Cologne. He walked unassisted to the guillotine, flanked by the prison psychiatrist and a priest. Shortly before his head was placed on the guillotine, Kurten turned to the psychiatrist and asked the question, "Tell me, after my head is chopped off, will I still be able to hear, at least for a moment, the sound of my own blood gushing from the stump of my neck? That would be the pleasure to end all pleasures. When asked whether he had any last words to say, Kurten simply smiled and replied, no. Whew. Peter Kurten. It was a lot, man. It's the longest that I've read, I know, but it was a lot. And the reason I feel like I wanted to do all of them is because this is, in my opinion, one of the worst ones that I've done, if not the worst.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Surprise. I told you it was pretty heavy.
Yeah, man.
At first we made some joking comments, but I was like, man, once I started getting, I knew it would be hard too. So I knew it wouldn't be a fun episode.
Yeah.
But I had never heard of this dude.
I haven't either.
Ever. Yeah. And there's a handful, not a lot of people that have done podcasts and stories and videos like some of the big guys. They've, and I think possibly because a lot of people probably started doing research and they were like, nah,
I'm out.
Not me.
Well,
so,
just, I hate to paint it this way, but the way that society or, pop culture fucking sucks the dick of Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, this dude is like so much fucking more brutal.
I know, man.
And, I'm not saying that Jack the Ripper gets a pass or anything along those lines. It's just like, and maybe it's like the fact that just the material's so fucking horrible that people are just like, we don't want to talk about the guy.
It's possible. It's all, I don't know why more people haven't done it or why he's not a big name amongst, the most horrific serial killers. Cause he should be up right near the top, man.
Yeah.
He was, as I started doing, like I had heard of the vampire Dusseldorf, I feel like, but Peter Kurten didn't ring a bell. And it was actually on my list originally to give to you.
Yeah.
Because I had only seen like a small snippet of it. And then I said,
I'd heard that bit about the head getting cut off where he said, will I be able to hear?
Oh, really?
I'd heard that.
Like I hate that I liked that, but what it did. So I don't know, something about last words. Like I always want it to be something epic or some shit. You know what I mean? I love that it's their last words. I mean, at least it ends. I'm okay with it because the next thing is they're dead.
Yeah.
His head got cut off. And I like the idea of a guillotine for some reason. That just, for me, that's like vicious. Unfortunately, it's probably not painful. Hanging is probably worse.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
but I don't know. I guess it's just so barbaric to me. Like, oh, big, massive fucking knife, I don't know. But yeah, man, what I don't like is the fact that he was smiling up until the very end. Like he was never tortured. He never suffered, and he got all apologetic. I'm not buying it.
Oh, yeah, I don't. The fucking families that he wrote letters to, like, would the family even fucking want that? Like, why the fuck?
Yeah, right.
Like, fuck you and you're sorry.
Yeah.
Like, you can take your sorry and shove it up your ass.
Yeah. I don't
Go
want
hand
shit
it to
from
the
you.
devil from your butt.
That's
like,
right.
From
your butt.
From your butt.
Yeah, this dude was, yeah, man.
Yeah, dude, I mean, it's not often that I have like just the fucking
nothing to say.
Wall where it's, but I'm glad he's dead. Yeah. I mean, obviously he'd be dead now anyway, but
yeah,
right. I'm glad that he was killed.
Yeah,
for
sure.
his crimes.
I'm glad he didn't get insanity.
Dude, I really like. I'm very much of the opinion that this went on way too long. That
my episode, you mean?
No, well, I mean
that and no, you're right.
His crimes went on way too long. Like,
yeah, he got away with it for a long time.
And there was a lot of people that survived
and
the attacks.
He had been he had been captive, like in jail.
Yeah,
a lot of they had so many chances.
Like
right.
13 years he spent in jail before he got.
Oh fuck, we let him out.
And then he just like went on like a fucking kill spree. Like,
I know.
Cling, 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 cling. Like
switching it up from a knife to scissors to a hammer. I guess back in the day, detective work wasn't
Dude,
I mean, the technology we have now makes it. You can use a fucking hammer and then a knife. We're still gonna find you.
A guy stumbling around bloody with a heart on, it's got to be pretty open and shut case, man.
Well, and I wasn't gonna mention this, but I'd say it. But he said he always ejaculated like without a heart on.
Well, dude,
so technically he wasn't walking around with a heart on.
But still, covered in blood, like creepy fucking dude in a suit, like.
Yeah, they didn't. I don't know, like, was it always at night? No, it wasn't. Was it always like, it seemed like it was a lot of times in the middle of the day.
To a body with a can of kerosene and set it on fire. You can't tell me that people weren't like,
nobody saw
what's
this?
going
on? Camp out?
Yeah.
No, dude, I agree. Like, I don't know. Maybe Dusseldorf is like super, like, not. I mean,
they had 900,000 suspects.
Names.
What's going on? Going on in Dusseldorf?
Well, and I assume Dusseldorf's a fairly big place because I've heard of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, you've at least heard of the mustard. But
that's true. Now,
but here's my 900,000 names.
Imagine, oh, dude.
They said there was 13.
Number one.
They said there was 13,000 letters to the police. That's people naming like shit tons of people.
Well, it was either Dave or Bill or John or God damn it, dude. 900,000. Imagine getting handed the list and they're like, number one.
Yeah, like pages. It's like a fucking novel.
It's a Bible of fucking. It's so thick.
It's just hand them the phone book here. Every dude.
Just call everyone.
Every dude.
Yeah, right.
In Dusseldorf.
Every one of them.
They're all suspects. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, that would suck. I mean, so I guess.
And first and foremost, had they done what most modern countries do when you are convicted of desertion and just killed him?
Right.
When he just dipped on the war effort.
Military. Right.
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not like pulling for the Germans in World War I by any means, but
imagine if he had stayed in the fucking, he would have become like some crazy SS
dude.
Oh
yeah. Oh, they would have fucking celebrated him. Like they'd been like, "Oh man, this guy knows how to kill people.
Oh, this guy's all right."
Yeah.
That's so crazy to think that too.
Like I mean, if he'd have just like hung out for like 10 more years,
he would have gotten.
He'd have been like the SS general of creepy kid killing.
Oh shit! Then he would have built rockets for the U.S.
Yeah, no fucking telling what's the career. The career is.
Man, you chose poorly. Your path could have been.
Yeah, you could have just hung out with Werner von Braun.
That's right. But he dipped out, and so you're right. If they had been like, dude, that's
executable offense, which is usually
the case. Yeah.
The case in desertion. It's either like life imprisonment or.
Yeah, they kept letting his ass out.
They're like, man, he's cool.
It's all right.
Hey, you know what? We'll let you out if you leave town.
Right.
And like 10 minutes later, they're like, nah, you can stay.
No, you can hang out.
Like, why isn't he like getting pulled in like repeatedly? Like when this shit's going down. Like he would have been like the first guy on the list. Like, did they just not check like criminal records back in the day?
Right. Now, if you look at him in that picture after the story, he looks like a straight up pedophile. Like a horrendous. I mean, but
I can like seeing that picture. I can see how he could blend into.
You know what I mean, right?
The background.
He was always like his hair was, done up, and he was always wearing a suit.
I don't care, man. You cover somebody in blood.
Yeah, man.
You're a suspect.
Well, he literally was drinking blood spurting out of their body. Like you're gonna get some on you.
Yeah. Like,
and why did nobody? That's eventually why he was like, okay, I'm gonna go back because his wife did see blood on him or something, and I can't remember the excuse. It was whatever, but yeah, I don't know. You would think he's just walking around covered in blood all the time.
Yeah, No, it's fine. I'm gonna attack you with a hammer.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, you could chalk it up to bad police work. I mean, it does seem like a really long time to be able to get away with that
that caliber,
that level of
violence. And
you'd think they would have dug. Like that should have been pretty high priority there.
Kid killer should be like,
kid
okay,
killer,
let's go fucking check. Let's go start knocking on some doors, bro.
Right. And that is what is hard about this. I mean, the children. I mean, even if the children weren't a part of the story, it's still horrendous.
Still horrific.
Right. But anytime you add, I mean, they were young. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why Fish was so fucked. Like, it was so hard to. This is one that I'm ready to not think about anymore.
Yeah,
I've held on this one for too long.
Yeah, I'll say I'm done talking.
And
about
there's not much to. Yeah, there's not like a.
No.
Well, my take is there's a twist ending. It is what it was.
He should have been caught earlier. That's
it, right.
the argument.
Yeah. So, well,
Fun,
kitties,
fun story.
do you like that one?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go home and fucking call a priest and be like, "Hey, man."
Yeah, I knew this one would be tough, but I don't know. Because it was to the level of just disgustingness and just the level of how brutal this guy was. The fact that we didn't know about him.
Yeah.
I felt like, okay, I'm going to do this story.
Yeah. Now everybody knows.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
And you're welcome.
Yeah.
So send us some suggestions, preferably a little bit lighter, so we can change up the tone next week.
Yeah, you ready to do time travel episode 2?
Fuck yeah, let's go, dude. Let's talk about some Brazilian aliens or something.
Fuck yeah, man.
So, all right, well, yeah, not fun, but hopefully, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Hopefully you enjoyed it. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to fucking end this.
Okay.
That's it.
Tune in next week.
Yeah, something a little bit lighter.
For something else. Something
right.
completely different.
Completely different.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
We're good?
Yep,
all
we're
right.
good.
Good shit?
Good shit. I don't know.